Well, I
Well,
want to, oops, I'm getting an echo. Hold on
Uh-oh.
just a second. 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. Do you have echo? Do you hear an echo?
I do not hear an echo.
Okay, good. I think we're okay now. All right, we just wanted to test that, make sure all is good. Okay, so welcome to Dominate Your Day. This month we are focused on well-being, and there's 5 areas of well-being. They are community, social, purpose, physical, what you put in your body and what you do with your body, and then also financial. So today we have the awesome opportunity to be with Shelley Loving. And Shelley is, which I love this title, she's a nutritionist coach. So we're going to be talking about physical well-being today. And what physical well-being is what you put in your body and what you do with your body. So I'm excited today to learn from Shelley and everything about what we can put in our body and how we can be our best self and thrive. So Shelley, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I think
Yeah.
this conversation is going to be wonderful and hopefully some eye-opening topics for your audience.
Yeah, and we just learned that we're both Texans, not too far away. So actually, Shelley,
That's
you're out in the country on a ranch with some pups and your husband, and I'm in the
yeah.
city. But it's kind of fun to meet a fellow Texan here.
I know
So
for sure.
welcome.
When I'm on podcasts, it's usually somewhere in another state. So this is
I
great.
know. It's really fun. So, Shelley, I want you to share your story with the audience about how this wasn't a plan for you to become a nutritionist chef, but how it happened and then what you've learned from it and how you're helping others right now.
Sure. And I'll give you the short story at the beginning. My husband and I, in 2010, it was Super Bowl Sunday. He was 41 years old and we thought he had the flu. And we got to one of those doc in a box places because it was a Sunday. And by the time we got there, 3 hours later, she asked if he had chest pain. He put his thumb on his heart and said yes. She did an EKG and they immediately called an ambulance. And about 19 minutes later, he was having a stent put in. Um,
Wow.
59 minutes later, after he went into surgery, they said it would be an hour. And 59 minutes, I'm looking at the clock, freaking out because he's not out of surgery. And about an hour and 4 minutes later, the doctor comes out and he grabs my shoulders real sweetly. And he said, Mrs. Loving, your husband is a very lucky man. He had 100% blockage in his left circumflex artery. That's the one they call the widowmaker because he didn't have signs of a heart attack. That's why we thought he had the flu. He didn't have
Oh
the
my
chest pain.
gosh.
He didn't have the numb arm. He didn't have heart disease history in his family. He was not out of shape. He worked out 5 days a week. We were stunned. It actually took it took me about 4 days to really let it soak in. He was in the ICU for 2 days. When he
Oh
got
my
home from the
gosh.
hospital, well, when they discharged him, they said, Mr. Loving, here are your 7 prescription drugs. And my husband was like, all right, well, how long are we going to be on these? And they just looked at him and they didn't say anything. And they're like, well, you're just going to be on these and follow up with your
Mm.
doctor for 3 months. And we got home and we didn't say anything at the time. And that night I physically laid my head on his chest and that's when I lost it. Like I had been on this 3-day adrenaline rush of trying to just make sure
Mm.
my husband stayed alive. And when we got home, I had a melt,
Yeah,
I let go.
sure.
And the next day we had a conversation and we both decided that 7 prescription drugs were not going to be his future. And we didn't know how we were going to make that happen, but I'm a holistic girl at heart. I always have been. Haven't always been a healthy cooker or a freak about nutrition, but I've always been aware of what's going in my body and things like that. So I immediately decided, I'm going to turn to food. Like I'll take care of the food. So I started doing all the Google research I could on heart healthy food and what foods to avoid if you have a heart attack. And I just spiraled into this like a lot of contradicting information, misinformation. And I'm blessed and my
Mm.
stars aligned. And I stumbled upon a nutrition school called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I decided I'm doing this. And my husband thought it was crazy. He's like, you're actually going to go to school? And I'm like, yes, I really want to see if food is the answer to the solution to
Mm.
heal your heart. So
Mhm.
I went to that school and I had so many aha moments during that school that things I'd never put together all these missing links in my life and most Americans today, where I made so many connections with food and how we feel and how our body acts. And once I started following some protocols and cleaning up our diet, things started changing for my husband and things started changing for me, which was crazy because I wasn't the one I was trying to get better. I was trying to get, I was
Wow.
feeling. So I thought there's something to this, right? When I'm starting to feel better, excuse me, and he's the one I'm trying to heal. And then, we just did this for like 2 years. I kept applying what I was learning and into our kitchen and applying what I was learning. I ended up going to 2 nutrition schools and a culinary school over the course of 4 years. And now, because my husband has completely reversed the damage to his heart, and I've never
Wow.
felt better in my life. We both lost weight in the process, not trying to. We just naturally, our bodies did what they needed to do. I said, not enough people know what we're doing, and not enough people are applying these simple tactics to their life that can exponentially change the outcome of their health. So that's when I created my business. Again, my husband thought I was losing my mind. He's like, "You're really going to do this?" I'm like, "I am. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea where to start. I don't have a clue what I'm going to help people, how I'm going to help people, but I got to help people." So that's why I named my business Shelley Can Help, because I genuinely didn't know. I just had this passion burning inside me to share this information with as many people as I could, because it's such a simple concept, not so easy to apply, because you have to change your food habits, which is very hard. Food is very addicting. We have an emotional relationship with food. And so I didn't know how I was going to tap into that. And it's morphed into what it is today, because I think there's so much passion behind my teachings, and I teach in such a practical way that it's steps that people can apply to their own life in a relatable fashion. I teach people in a way where they can actually get in their own kitchen on a busy Tuesday night and put together a somewhat healthy meal and know what they're putting in their bodies, and their bodies are going to reward them with good health, if that makes sense. So I just wanted a really
Absolutely.
approach to healthier eating, not healthy eating, not some extreme diet, just healthier eating, right? It's in the baby steps. And so that's why I do what I do. That was a long answer. I apologize.
No, but I think it was great. And I think that there's so many people out there and they don't realize, just like you did, you had this passion, like, wait, I've learned all this. I need to make sure other people take this away. And right now we know that people are suffering in their mental health, but so much has to do with the food, right?
So
And
much.
everything else that goes with it. So a lot of bad habits. And you mentioned that there's, food habits that happen, and it's an emotional thing. So I want to talk about that, because you don't hear people talk about that very often.
Yeah.
It's usually, oh, I just can't put that cookie down.
Yeah.
Well, what's
Our
behind eating that cookie,
Our relationship with food is the longest relationship we'll ever have in our life. We have it from the day we're born until the day we die. And it's a relationship we can't break up with. We can't quit. And so it's very important for us to take that relationship with food and nurture it so that the food can nurture us back. I believe it's in ebbs and flows. I think there's a balance. I'm not here to teach people extreme dieting. I'm so sorry. I have a frog in my throat. I just
No, that's
believe
fine.
that, I just think there is a harmony that can happen with the foods you love and the foods that feed you nutrients. I feel like there is this beautiful middle ground that not enough people are exploring, because people think it has to be an all or nothing approach. And it doesn't. It doesn't. It can be this glorious dance between those foods, like, your grandmother's pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving and eating a very nutritious lean protein lunch on a Tuesday. I think that they can coexist together. And I just want to help people realize that.
Okay, now you got my attention. It's like, oh, I can have that pie and I can eat healthy. So,
Yeah.
so I think that's what it is, an emotional thing, and it is something, and it's like, it's kind of like when we talk about Clifton Strengths, you're just recognizing what you have what your strengths are and your talents are, and then how you're going to use them.
Right.
So, Shelley, when you set out to become, I know you didn't really say, I'm going to go be a nutrition chef. It just happened, right? It just kind of happened after you did all this research, and then you got into the cooking. And then now you've got this cookbook. So tell us, or it's a book. What did you say? A cookbook and a journal, kind of food journal meets cookbook kind of
I
thing.
would say 90%
Yeah.
cookbook, 10% kind of a food journal opportunity inside as well.
So tell
Um,
us about that and how you created that and what people would find in that book. Because that just came out a year ago, right?
Yeah. So when I created Shelley Can Help, I had some goals, and one of my goals was a 5-year plan to write a cookbook. I kept creating, and when I was going through nutrition school, I was forced to create in my own recipes, and same in culinary school. And so with all of that, I'm like, I need to share these anti-inflammatory delicious recipes with other people so they see that it can be simple ingredients. And I wanted to really put the focus on anti-inflammatory because that's the base behind everything I teach, is teaching people how to reduce the chronic inflammation in their body through the foods that they eat. So with this cookbook, I had a 5-year plan. I had no idea. I've never written a book, always wanted to, didn't realize it was going to be a
Hmm.
cookbook and not like a fiction book, but I did. And I did it within the 4th year of my business because I just felt like there was so
Well,
much information I wanted to share with other people regarding the simplicity of healthy cooking.
and I can't wait to dig in and hear some of the things you've learned and what the myths. I'm going to bust some myths that we all have about what healthy eating looks like. But I also want to take a moment for all of our listeners out there. They might see an idea like Shelley has and they think, oh, somebody else is doing that. No, get out there and do it. Whether you're a
Absolutely.
corporate leader right now or a coach and you have, because if you had to go search and do what you don't want somebody else to have to do what Shelley just did, she did it for you now.
Woo,
So, right? You've done it for that person.
I
So
did.
tell us.
I feel like it can be applicable to anybody, any gender, anywhere in the country, any age, any job. We all have to eat. And I felt I had to do so much digging and wall hitting and stumbling on and falling. And that's why I created my business. I wanted to be able to create a simple way to teach people these things, no matter where they are in life, because everyone should have their health as a core focus, no matter how busy you are, how important you are, how young you are. It doesn't matter. Your health should be your top priority. So I just want to help people make that easier.
I love it. And so, do you most spend most of your time online doing your cooking classes, or how do you help them besides the cookbook?
I do. So I have two facets to my business. The first one is I teach virtual healthy cooking and webinar classes for corporations all over the world. So companies like Ameriprise Financial, Texas Capital Bank, Globe Life Insurance, they hire me virtually
Hmm.
and I go in and I teach either healthy cooking classes or healthy webinars to their employees or their clients. So I'm able to reach this beautiful large audience and share all of this information with them via webinars. That's the first side of my business. The other side,
Hmm.
on the personal side, I have a online membership where people can join monthly and then they have all access to me. Recipes, recipe videos, live cooking classes, meal prepping classes. We have guest speakers inside. We have challenges. So those are kind of the two main facets of my business. And then I also try to reach as many people as I can. I'm starting to do some public speaking. So those are
That's
my three
awesome.
ways that I just want to be on as many metaphoric or physical stages as I can to let people know the importance of what they're eating and how they can make small changes for big health results.
So tell us, what is the biggest takeaway you want people to have when they see your, it looks like, are you there? Looks like
Yes.
somebody's AirPods are disconnected. Are you good?
Oops.
Okay.
Can you hear me
Uh,
okay?
okay. I can hear you now. Okay. So that's okay. We're going to keep rolling. When that popped up, I went, oh, I think we're all connected. Okay. So tell me, what is the biggest takeaway that you want to take away from, um, that you want people to take away when they read your book or, have an opportunity to hear your lessons?
Sure. Can I give you two?
You can give me as many as you want, 3 or 4. That's fine. Yeah.
Number one is chronic inflammation is the root of most health problems today. So if we can reduce the chronic inflammation in our bodies are able to stay stronger and they're able to fight off the things that come our way, that whether it's seasonal allergies, cold and flu, or disease. So whenever we eat foods, there are foods that cause inflammation and there are foods that reduce inflammation. So that's a lot of what I teach about. People don't realize that what they're eating is actually causing their body inflammation on the inside. It's the silent killer. And so I like to talk about that. So learn which foods cause inflammation and which foods reduce inflammation. That's my number one. And my number two, once you kind of understand that category, my second one from this to the side of that would be learn how to read a food label, because the food label tells you everything to know about the nutrition in that food, and it has nothing to do with the nutrition facts. I want people to learn how to read the ingredient list. Once you know what foods are bad and what foods are good, when you read that ingredient list, you hold all the power. You hold all the power in controlling what's going in your body, because once you know better, like Maya Angelou says, once you know better, you do better. And I want people, as many people as I can reach, to become masters at reading an ingredient food label and knowing the difference between inflammatory ingredients and healthy ingredients. So those would be my takeaways.
So if we're really wanting to know, and whether we're 20 or we're 80, we need to know what these what are those foods that cause inflammation?
Absolutely. I love it when people ask me this. So the number one in my book would be refined oils or seed oils. So that's going to
I think I just lost you. I just lost you for a second there. Froze. Let me see. Okay, talk again. We'll start.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. We'll just start over. Okay. So what is the number one inflammation food that people need to be aware of, or ingredient?
It would be refined oils or seed oils, that mostly in America. So canola oil, vegetable oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil. And then on a food label, you'll see palm oil a lot. In other countries, palm oil is actually good, but in this country, it's an overly processed refined oil. So we want to stay away from those. They're synthetic, they're made in a factory, and they cause a lot of inflammation in our body. The number two food group that I would tell people is not going to be a surprise to anyone. It's sugar. And we're talking the white refined sugar, not sweeteners. There are healthy sweeteners out there, but sugar is our nemesis for so many diseases today. So sugar causes inflammation. So we want to stay away from that when we can, right? Especially for buying products at the store. We don't need to buy a condiment like a salad dressing where the second ingredient is sugar. Sugar is a preservative. So they put it in a lot of foods that aren't sweet because it gives it a longer shelf life. So we want to pay attention to that. The number three would be dairy. Sorry, but that's true. I know people love their cheese, but processed dairy in American grocery stores is so inflammatory. It's just not good for us. It's made to feed a 1-ton animal and not a human. So when we overconsume it at breakfast, lunch, dinner, it's just not good for our bodies on the inside. And then the fourth one would be gluten. Gluten causes inflammation today. It's not, wheat is in America is not what it was 100 years ago. It's not what it was 50 years ago. They spray it with glyphosate, and it's so oftentimes our bodies may not have a gluten allergy. It may be more of a chemical allergy, but that's what we're facing today. If people are making their own bread and we're doing sourdough at home, that's a different story. But most people are consuming so much gluten products at the grocery store, those overly processed, the pastas and the breads, that it's causing problems in our bodies. So those would be my four. So we have refined oils, sugar, dairy, gluten, and the last one would be artificial sweeteners. So we're talking aspartame, Splenda, Equal, Sweet and Low, anything on the shelf that says sugar-free, like a sweet cookie or something. If it says sugar-free, it most likely has artificial sweeteners in it. And our bodies don't know what to do because they are what? Artificial. Our bodies don't know it. Our bodies can't recognize it. So it causes inflammation and it causes a lot of health problems over time. So we want to stay away from diet sodas, sugar-free gum, and then any sweet treat that says no sugar, zero sugar, or sugar-free.
Wow. And I think it started years ago, right? Was it? I've been watching way too many Food Network shows like Blue Zone and what is it? You are what you eat and all those things. And you're kind of like, oh my goodness, there are so many things we can do. It's what we put in our body. So we've been programmed that we can have that sugar-free cookie and we're going to be good. We've been programmed to think. So what are some alternatives if you want to eat something sweet?
There are healthy sweeteners out there. So I'm a huge fan of raw local honey. I'm a fan of maple syrup. I'm a fan of coconut sugar. Those are good, healthy sweeteners. Now, if you have type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes, especially, you probably don't want to consume those on a regular basis. But if you are at home and you want to make a sweet treat, grab one of those. They're wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
They have antioxidants in them. In moderation, I think that those sweeteners are a-okay, and I use them in a lot of my recipes. So I want to make it really clear that I never want to teach deprivation. I want you to have balance. And I tell people I try to use and teach the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, which is your Tuesday at lunch, your Thursday at dinner, your Monday at breakfast, try to eat an anti-inflammatory diet. 20% of the time, charcuterie and wine at Barbara's house, Super Bowl Sunday, grandson's birthday, Christmas, Thanksgiving. Eat whatever you want. Enjoy your time. Don't show yourself shame and guilt when you do eat bad. Not bad, but when you eat, the foods that may not be the healthiest. Don't worry about it. As long as you have a balance of eating an anti-inflammatory, nutritious diet on your 80%.
So let's talk. That reminds me of our earlier discussion around, or we just touched on it, was habits, our relationship with food. So how do you change a relationship with food? How do you alter that?
I'm about to teach a class on this. That's really crazy that you brought that word up. There's a lot of steps, and I am going to teach a 3-day masterclass on this. So I'll just give you some highlights, but it starts
high level. Yeah.
Starts with our minds. It starts with what we're telling ourselves on a daily basis. How many times do people say things like this to themselves? I don't like to cook. I don't have time. I'm too busy. My husband won't eat it. My kids are picky eaters. It's too expensive to eat healthy. I don't want to buy weird ingredients. I don't want to spend 4 hours in the kitchen. All of these are phrases that we say in our mind repeatedly, subconsciously. So we're already talking ourselves out of change. We're already talking ourselves out of creating some healthy habits before we even begin. And who's doing that? Our own mind. We're doing it without even thinking about it. So it starts there. And then my second step would be start very, very small. Maybe try one thing. Create that one habit. Do it for 60 days. See how it goes. Maybe you start reading every food label when you go to the grocery store. Or maybe you say, I will no longer eat gluten for 60 days. And just see how you feel, get the habit going, and then tackle the next one, right? Maybe it's, I'm going to cook one healthy, Shelley approved meal a week. That's what it is. Maybe that's all you can do right now. I think if we just start small and quit trying to follow the fad diet, do this extreme weight loss, buy the expensive supplements and powders. If we could just get away from that, I think a more sustainable approach is going to be these tiny baby steps that we build upon. I call them the building blocks. We're setting a solid foundation, and we have all these little building blocks, and those are our small habits that we integrate one by one without showing ourselves guilt and shame when we screw up, right? Because it's not about that.
Yes.
We extreme doesn't work in any situation. It's not sustainable. So why would we think that extreme would work with the relationship we have with food when we do it multiple times a day? Having an extreme change is not sustainable. So I just think building very small habits is how we create success.
You mentioned the mindset and starting there. What are some things that you have found? We talk a lot about mindset here and with my business and Dominate Your Day. What are some things that you have found that help people as they're thinking about their mindset and their thoughts about food that have helped them? Or do you have a story to share about that with one of your clients?
So I taught a class back in October, and we started with that. I said, I want you to write. I had a workbook and everything. And I'm like, I want you to write down what you're telling yourself when you think about eating healthy, when you think about making a healthy meal, or when you think about going out and eating healthy. What are you telling yourself, right? Are you telling yourself, oh, it's going to taste bad? Or are you telling yourself, I'd rather have X food? Or it's going to taste bland? Like what? So I think when kind of back to what I was saying earlier, and everybody, so whenever I teach a masterclass, we have kind of a community forum and people can leave comments and stuff. And hundreds of people were saying, I never thought about changing what I'm eating, but relating it to what I'm thinking about first. And so that was a big aha moment for hundreds of people that were in that masterclass. It's like, I really do need to start with what I'm thinking and telling myself, not even what you're saying out loud to other people, but what are you saying to yourself when you go to the grocery store and make that grocery list? Are you looking at Pinterest and going, ooh, yeah, that homemade mac and cheese, I want to try that. Or if you're looking at a healthy recipe and going, yeah, that broccoli is going to be boring because they're not using any cheese in it. They're not using butter, so it's like, what are you saying to yourself, even when you're looking at a recipe to change your habits? So I hope I answered your question.
No, that's good. That's good. I think it's really, really analyze, being curious about what you're thinking about when you're thinking about food instead of just thinking about food. Like,
I want
I'm going
people
to eat
to be
that piece of
aware.
chocolate.
Bring it top of mind. Be conscientious about what are your thoughts before you eat something. What are your thoughts when making that choice with food? Like, stop and pause and think about what your brain and what your inside voice is telling you to trick you into talking yourself out of creating the new habit and getting away with the things that are no longer serving you.
I love that. Tell us some stories. That's one of them. Hearing from people on your masterclass and saying,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I've never thought. And then the story of your husband, the transformation of both of you losing weight and just him reversing his heart, getting it back, transforming it back to where healthy, what is he now? 51? It was 41 back then.
51.
Healthy heart.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the reason that people are like, how does she know his heart's healed? Well, he has to get an EKG once a year. So every year he goes for his EKG, and every year, well, for the past 5 years, it's looked the same. Like, it's just, there's no damage in there that he can see. And the cardiologist tells my husband that he's in the 1 percentile of all his patients. No one does this. No one actually reverses the damage. And so that's how we know that he is healthier than ever. And then we're very diligent. We go do blood work twice a year on our own. We just go to a blood lab and we've done our research. We know what to ask for, and we do that twice a year. It's just owning your health, advocating for yourself. And so that's how I know his heart is healing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, it's a combination of that intersection you have between, the integrative medicine and then just the chef, being a chef and focusing on both of those together and being this amazing nutrition chef. So share with the audience one or two of your favorite quick recipes that they can do that are healthy on that Tuesday night when they're a busy working mom or dad, and they're just like coming home and they're like, what can I do that's going to be healthy for everybody and everybody's going to eat it and not complain? And is there something that you found that Tuesday night dinner that's easy, that is healthy?
Yeah. So this is one that I kind of talk about that's not fully homemade, but some people don't have time for fully homemade. So I feel like this recipe can resonate with so many people. Is you do a half homemade spaghetti sauce. So you buy your marinara. Now here's the trick. You need to read the food label to know which marinaras are healthy and which ones aren't. There are some really good marinaras out there, and they don't have to be expensive, but read the ingredient list. We don't want any of those refined oils or added salt or anything like that in them. Anyway, find a good marinara sauce, thaw out some ground turkey, to brown your turkey. Then you're going to add your marinara sauce to it, and then you're going to add a bunch of stuff to it. So get out your food processor or food chopper and put in go ahead and chop spinach, mushrooms, whatever greens you have in the pantry. I mean, in the fridge, it doesn't matter because they're going to be chopped up really fine. This is a great way to get extra vitamins and minerals into your children's diets too. And then
Wow.
you're going to add more spices to the marinara. Add minced garlic for your garlic is really good for the cardiovascular system. Garlic is in the onion family and it helps open up your blood vessels. So garlic is amazing for us. So add your extra garlic, add your oregano. It can be dried. Add your oregano, add your parsley, salt, pepper. I do a little tiny dash of something sweet just to cut the saltiness of the marinara sauce. So I'll do a little bit of coconut sugar or just a gentle squeeze of honey just to break up the saltiness. And then you have a delicious, well-rounded meal and then some gluten-free pasta. You have a delicious because you're getting your fiber from your greens, you're getting the protein from the turkey, and you're getting your healthy fats from the oils that you're putting in when you brown the meat. So like avocado oil. So it's just a very easy way that you can dump in one pot. Everyone's happy. I don't know of one person that doesn't love spaghetti, but it's not completely homemade and it's not going to take you an hour. It will take you 25 minutes. So that's kind of just an easy example. That's not in my cookbook, clearly, because it's a marinara sauce that you buy at the store.
Sure.
But that's a way to kind of mesh. I'm busy, but let's get some nutrients in our dinner.
What do you think is the biggest myth right now for people just to get started when they think they can't get started? And we talked a little bit about, I don't want to, it takes too much time. I can't do that. I'm not a good cook. What is the biggest aha you've had in working with your clients and in doing this research that kind of busts that myth about, what they can do instead of whatever they think it is?
I wish people would stop listening to all the noise of the all in or nothings. So whether it's a keto diet, becoming a vegan, or I'm not against either of those, by the way.
Right.
I just think that they need to be the answer to being healthy. It doesn't have to be an all-in approach. You don't have to clean out your pantry or empty your fridge and go buy a bunch of produce that's going to go bad. It does not have to be that complicated. We can just start small. Start very, very small. Like I said earlier, create one habit at a time. Maybe that is making one healthy meal a week. Maybe that's just setting a goal to drink your wet water that you should be drinking every day. It doesn't matter, and you don't have to go extreme to start seeing some positive results, because my husband and I did it over a 3 or 4 year period. This did not happen overnight, and people don't get unhealthy overnight. You don't get these conditions and disease overnight. It's something that's been manifesting in your body sometimes for a decade. So be patient with yourself. And I think the biggest myth is that you have to go all in and you have to go extreme and you have to be, just completely start over and use this very restrictive protocol, and you really don't have to do that.
Oh, that's such good advice. I love that. Well, Shelley, as we get ready to close out, you've given us some great tips, the refined oils, the sugar, the dairy, and the gluten, and artificial sweeteners to stay away from. Read the labels. You've given us a great weeknight menu to follow. I think I'm always about simplicity and making things easy. Is there anything I haven't asked you or that's coming up for you right now that you want to make sure our listeners know before we get ready to close out today?
Well, if you are a cook and want to try some new recipes, I do have a cookbook. It's on Amazon. It's called What's on Your Fork. And it's right there. When you type in What's on Your Fork, you'll see it. It's also on barnesandnoble.com. But if people are curious about just kind of how to begin this, and if they're feeling inspired after they hear this, maybe they are so busy that they're I'm too busy being in my career that I don't have time. I would love for them to just join my weekly newsletter. I have a newsletter that I put out once a week, and I just encourage people with small tips and habits and recipes. Some of it's funny, it's entertaining, some of it's helpful. And just kind of, that's a good way to kind of be a catalyst on, okay, you know what? She kind of resonated with me in this one area. She touched on me a little bit, but I don't know kind of what to do after this. Joining my newsletter or following me on social. I know that sounds kind of silly, but I'm on every social platform and I post every day. And I just want to be that little tap on somebody's shoulder that's just their reminder. Hey, don't forget to eat your greens today. Don't forget that fiber is important at every meal. Don't forget, have you had 30 or 40 ounces of water today? I want to be that. So just watching a 30-second video of me on social will be that reminder. Hey, don't forget about your health, because if you don't have your health as a priority, it's going to force itself to, you're going to have your priority as your sickness.
I love that. And I love that you've named your business Shelley Can Help, and you've also named your cookbook What's on Your Fork. I love that. That's great. So Shelley, we're going to put your information in the show notes. Thank you so much for sharing such great wisdom for us today on physical well-being, on what we can put in our bodies and how we think about what we're putting in our bodies in a different way, and
Right.
building small habits, right? We're just little habits, one at a time.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you so much for allowing me to be on your platform to share this message with your audience. And I hope that it inspires someone.
it did. It inspired me. I'm going to go make that turkey spaghetti maybe tonight. Who knows?
Hey,
Thank you so much. I appreciate you
thank
being here. Okay.